Now who's going to go home and try the drop? Anybody? Oh, come on. That was one of the most fun things I've seen. Tell you what, if you're not sure you can do it, we're turning out a lot of students here down in the Convergence Lab and elsewhere. Hire them and they'll do it for you. It didn't take long and he was great at it. I loved it. I was just going back through the program. I think I started off mentioning, we learn by doing, we teach by doing. And it just dawned on me, this was not planned, but a lot of the folks here have a tie to Missouri. We know it's a good school, 108 years old, or by now 106. But Joy's from here. Hope Kerwan from Hearsay was here. Kevin, he stepped out, but I think Kevin Jones graduated from here. I don't know if Jeff did, from Houston. Aaron Pellish, of course, is a senior here. Walt got one of his degrees here. And Ryan, of course, started out here, or got his degree here. There's a lot of good talent that come out of here, so if you're always looking or thinking about it, we affectionately call them the Mizzou Mafia. But again, we did not plan, we did not start out loading the program up with Mizzou people. Just turns out we have some good ones around, and they work in your area, your field. So I'd like to ask a couple of questions before we break for lunch, if I can get this thing to come up for me. How many of you feel that at the end of this session, I know you still have workshops this afternoon, but how many of you feel that you're better equipped or motivated to engage your hometown audiences than when you arrived? Jennifer, you're capturing this, right? How many of you think you'll go home and implement something or some things that you saw or heard yesterday and today? That's what we want to see. How many of you would like to see the Potter conferences continue? All right. Share with me why. Anybody? Yeah.
This is the only place we've really gotten industry-specific advice. We can talk to anybody about web presence and digital marketing, but this is the first time we have ever had advice specifically directed to our industry.
Thank you. Anybody else? Why should we keep doing this?
I think for the weeklies that come out, you're so concentrating on getting that paper done and meeting the deadline for your printer, you have no one to talk about, or you've got ideas floating in the back of your head, and all of a sudden we come with these ideas, and here you are showing how to implement a lot of them. And so for people in this situation anyways, it seems to work really well.
One of the things we found early on is the first one we did, we brought in a lot of experts or whatever, but the last several, a lot of our learning has been from you, sharing ideas, successes. A lot of the speakers here are out in the field, they're not here. Ryan comes to us from papers. Kevin, Trevor, Kevin comes from other papers. So we find that it's a really good two-way street, but we need the feedback from you all so that we can do this every year and be more valuable. And that's kind of what we're going for. Of the things you're thinking about going home and doing, share with me what ones you might do. What are you thinking about taking home and starting or trying?
Well, from yesterday, the hearsay seems like that's something that we could definitely do at our paper. And even if we're scared of video a little bit still, we can do the traditional photo and quote on the website, and then maybe get bold and try some video also. But we can start that right. That's a tier 1 thing. We can do that this week. And the other thing, what would you like to see here? What should be built here? Those questions, that's really easy, and people will, I feel like they'll be engaged in that. That'll be something easy to do right away.
Yeah, my wife and daughter asked that a few years ago here, and the first thing they said was, we want a Marshalls or a TJ Maxx. Yeah. We got the Marshalls, oh, that works. What would you like to see at a future Potter Conference? Is there a topic, a person, an idea, a technology? Is there something you'd like to come back next year and hope that we do here? Because that will help us plan future meetings. Yeah.
A section on time management for smaller shops, because that's something that we struggle with a lot. And then maybe a breakout where we could show someone what we're doing and they could help us do it better.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea, and an option for like what we're doing this afternoon. Maybe next year we could take a half a day and do something like that. Good to know. What we haven't talked about is, I'd like to hear from you all. What have you done this past year, tried something new that you think worked or you learned something from? Is there some initiative you tried, some new product you launched, some new service you launched, some new idea? If it succeeded, great, but don't be afraid to share that you tried something that bombed. Because if you experience that and you can tell why it bombed, then the rest of us know, hey, let's not waste our time on that. Let's find one of these other things to do. Anybody have a success this year? Could be a sales product, could be an editorial product, could be technical, digital. You all just cranked out the paper last year? That's it? What do we got? Okay.
We started doing weekly polls on our Facebook, and that's been pretty popular. We can not only get a lot of comments and a lot of people going to our website to vote, but also we turn those into stories for print, so it's kind of double dipping. I think that's been pretty successful.
Great. Anybody else? What'd you spend your time on? I mean, Ryan told us a couple of things he did this year and every year. What all have you tried at home? Anything in particular? Well, oh, another, okay.
We're live streaming and we're podcasting now. We're podcasting for about 6 months now.
Go ahead. Well, yeah, because then it'll be on the tape when we're done.
We really kind of hit the ground running live streaming about a year ago, and we've been podcasting for about 6 months now. And so cross-platform. This year, our candidate forum is going to be multi-platform as far as we've partnered with a local radio station for our older readers who aren't technical, and so they will be able to hear our candidate forum, on the radio. They won't have to go online and listen to a podcast or see a live stream, but it looks like we're going to have it offered, every which way.
How'd the live stream turn out for you?
In June, we had a flash flood on a bright sunny day, and I was able to get down there and was actually standing on dry land when I started live streaming and was in water during the live stream. And it was incredibly awkward and really rough, and when I look back at it, it was absolutely terrible. But for a newspaper with a circulation of 1,600, that was our spike for the entire year, and I think it's our most viewed thing that we have on our website, nemonews.net, which has actually grown pretty well for our very rural region. So we're just trying to grow, figure it out, doofus our way through it is how we...
Well, that's an example. It can be done.
What are you podcasting?
Huh?
The podcast.
The podcast is basically, okay, so we're a two-person shop. I'm the news end of it, kind of the back of the house. And then Emily, she's the front of the house. She does advertising, and she's also having to push stuff out on the internet as well. So now there's kind of two of us putting content up. Our former editor, Ken Mitchell, came to me about 6 months ago, and he wanted to learn podcasting, and he's a technical guy, and said, we have good banter, let's do a podcast. And because I don't have time for editing and learning how to turn all the knobs, he does that. It's something that I can just go sit down with him for an hour, and we basically look at the paper for the week, talk about it and give our news and views. And the time he was the editor, he tells old-timey stories about things that happened in our county back then. And so a lot of our, like the local cops and things who spend a lot of time in cars and judges and whatnots were our kind of initial audience, and then they're the ones, word of mouth, kind of spread it out. And so the podcast is news and views. It's all opinion. But we're doing videos and the live stream. We live stream our city council meeting regularly every month, and we just over the last few months, I realized, I take my council agenda and I do time codes. As I look at my phone and see where the time codes are going down. So now we're posting the time codes with the meeting video because, we just had a 3-hour meeting. Who wants to sit through 3 hours of city council? So that we got a lot of good response on. They can see, we want to see, what's going on with the potholes. They can just see where the time code is, fast forward straight through. And we're using Ustream because it's free. And we can embed it straight into our site. We want traffic to come straight into our site. And then we can push out, like I can push a share button on my phone and share it across Facebook and Twitter. But I also have a tablet that I take with me while I'm sitting at a meeting. And that works really well for like breaking news, as long as it's not something like a traffic accident. We have policy about not tweeting or, sending certain things out. Especially where there's injuries or maybe fatalities and things like that. So it's been interesting to but we're doing a lot with nemonews.net, and we are teeny tiny. It's 2 different papers, the Edina Sentinel and the Media, owned by the same guy, Mike Scott, our publisher. And he just kind of kicked and screamed a little bit at the beginning, but then embraced it.
I think she deserves a round of applause. If any of you are still sitting on the fence, we're too small, we can't do that, 2 people?
nemonews.net.
If she can do it, you can do it.
So just a quick tip, Ustream is fantastic. You were asking about Periscope. The thing that's new with Periscope is the social arm. So if it's something, it sends an automatic tweet when you start to stream, people can interact with it live. It's just a different feel. So Periscope is great if it's like, we're going to give you a quick look at halftime at the football game, or we want you to make sure you feel like you're here and we're here, so we're going to show you what it's like since you're not here. That's what Periscope and social are good for. What you're doing with a 3-hour meeting, don't even consider changing that to Periscope. That's not what that's for. Ustream is fantastic for that.
Yeah, I noticed, I like the story about you started on dry land and ended up swimming. Ryan pointed out, one of the easiest or biggest ways to drive engagement is weather, and that's something television stations have known for decades. But now the print product can get into more than just a sunny sky icon and the temperatures. You can do more with that. Anybody else? What have you done this year that you had fun with, that you enjoyed, that somebody came up to you and said, hey, I really like that? Nobody talks to you? You got to get out more. You got one? Yeah?
Well, I finally figured out Twitter about a year ago, and I linked it directly so that it feeds to our Facebook page, which actually, because our community, for some reason, even though we're suburban, it's not real Twitter active except at the school district. But it is with the school district, and so because of that, we started getting really active with high school football. And this year, every score, every significant development in the game, I tweeted out, and it got huge response. And of course, it fed straight to Facebook. But part of why we're here is, that's helped a lot, and it's driven community engagement. And we've, with our breaking news, it's we're so far from where we were a year ago. Many more people know our name, but how do we make a buck on it? And that's kind of why we're here, and I think we're getting some good ideas.
Joey, you were here last year, and you had a couple of new ideas. You do anything new this year you want to talk about? You can share with us.
I mean, we launched a new paper, so we did that. That was a lot of work. When we did that, we've been using our website. We have a hard paywall, or I call subscription service, and to the public, because I hate that word, paywall. But we use it to drive circulation, and then bundle it with print, so it's one buy. So if you get, we don't think we can scale our digital product to where we can make a lot of money on the website with ads, with how small we are. So we've been trying to drive everything towards a bundle to where it goes with the print product, and we use our website to drive circulation, which has been really, really effective. So that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, if you kind of blanched it, Mike Blinder earlier today when he said, oh, you got to scale up to traffic of 50,000, whatever, most of us don't do that. But the real common practice right now is to bundle your packages, not necessarily sell them separate, and then just price accordingly. If you think the digital bundle is worth 10% more, then you raise your subscription price or whatever to, by 10%, and it covers both print and digital. And so, anybody else? What did you do that somebody walked up and said, hey, thank you? I did that.
We launched an e-newsletter, and we're still trying to determine, I hear from my artists quite regularly, whether we should be doing it ourselves or we should be subscribing to one of the services that are out there. We have a client that's actually using the, I guess that's what, the Constant Contact. We kind of put that together for them. But we do use it to link our breaking news back to our website, and we have committed to get it out at least monthly, and I'd like to see us move into doing e-blast, whether it's for news or just advertising, now that we do have it in place.
We're finding that, while it's somewhat difficult to monetize Twitter or sometimes Facebook, although that's getting easier, email is something you can monetize. If you do a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly newsletter, you can sell that. You can sell a sponsorship ad on that. And it's a way to make money doing what you do. Digests are interesting. I had a gentleman in Texas who ran a paper, and he's with the National Newspaper Association. He had an old school idea for his weekly. He would put out every morning an 8.5 by 11 sheet, and on the front were top stories, breaking stories, or news stories. Not a lot of detail, but here's what happened today. You could then go to the website and watch it or whatever, or you could get the full story when the paper came out on Tuesday or Wednesday. And the flip side was either a full page ad or a half and 2 quarters or 4 quarters. He made $100,000 a year off that printed one sheet that you could run off at Kinko's or off your own copying machine. And old school but new school. A digest, it was in every diner for breakfast in the morning. It was at every coffee shop in the morning, and they always sold, they didn't sell it, but it was basically sold out. He'd have coffee shops and restaurants calling, can you bring me more? People want that. So there's a lot of different ways to do this and to monetize it. I think it's fun that way.